Welcome everyone to Gentle Yoga at Noon. I'm Jeani, your guide for the next hour. We're in the ACC room of, the community room of the ACC, and we are going to continue our practice of hip openers, shoulder openers. We'll be working with our arms today, so having a strap nearby, blocks nearby. We're going to be making our way down to the belly, and you can attempt to do some of the belly exercises while you're on the chair, but I really encourage you to try to get down on the mat. So if you have a chair nearby to help you do that, or blocks, have those nearby as we move through the practice today. As usual, we're going to start at the back of the mat. And as we start, you don't have to change the quality of the breath. Just give yourself a little time to arrive. Now, stepping into your mountain, if your legs are tight, if you've been doing a lot of activity, having a gentle bend to the knees will help. And each return to our mountain, hopefully you just get a little longer, a little stronger. So give yourself just the space to arrive in your home base pose of mountain. Feeling the mat under the feet. We'll give ourselves just a moment to start cultivating the breath. Bring the left hand to rest on the chest, right hand somewhere on the belly, maybe under the belly button. Have that gentle inward turn of your thighs, just so you can feel the weight in the feet somewhere. We'll go ahead and start breathing with a little more focus. As you inhale, see if you can feel the hand on the chest rise at the top of the inhale, maybe the collarbone lifting. On the exhale, start a slower, more controlled exhale that ends with just a gentle engagement of the core, maybe a pressing of the belly hand, help to expel the air from the belly. And those brief pauses in between the inhale and the exhale, defining the breath cycle. We'll start cultivating the sound of the ocean at the back of the throat. Closing the mouth, but finding that openness there, right above the throat. On both the inhale and the exhale. And as we've quieted down, cultivating that yogic breath, connecting to it whenever we need to. It'll just help us maintain any challenging poses. Just help us to feel a little more relaxed in that pose. Let's go ahead and bring the hands down to our sides. We'll bring breath and movement together. With the next inhale, start to gently press into the feet, engage the legs, firm up the core. And feel that energy lifting all the way up the body, up through to the crown of the head, maybe even beyond. At the top of the inhale, we're going to pause briefly and then exhale down, that same reverse order of energy towards the legs, to the feet, to the mat, back to the earth. Fully exhaled there, feel a little more rooted. With the next inhale, start to roll the center of gravity at the feet towards the toes. The body is nice and long. And just as you feel that tipping point, go ahead and use the next breath. Slowly roll the weight. Feel it at the big toe, under the arches, near the heels, to that tipping point almost there. And hopefully you're fully exhaled there. You're going to use the next couple of breath cycles just to find that heel to toe alignment. And then we'll meet at center. Somewhere above the arches, near to the heels. Just feel as if you're just landing right there. Inhale in your mountain, a little taller maybe. See if you can lengthen through the legs. Oh, and make sure that your toes are aligned. If they're not, you might start to feel that as we're coming back. We're going to inhale all the way up towards the crown of the head, to the roof if you can. And then exhale, just roll the weight at the soles of the feet towards the outer right edge. Your body is still nice and long. Fully exhaled here. Inhale to the center, or inhale all the way to the other side for a 2-part breath. If you inhale to the center and then exhale to either side, that's a 3-part breath. Find some exploration from left to right, at the soles of the feet primarily, and then we'll meet at center, once more in our home base of mountain. Settle in, reset the mountain if you need, feel a little longer in the legs, a little taller, as if a string is pulling you up at the crown of the head. And as we're there lifting, we're just going to make small circles at the ankles, and imagine you're just finding that path to the outer edge of your feet. You may take a few orbits to travel around and find that edge, but when you finally do, hopefully you're just going to use the breath and return home, back to center, somewhere above the arches, like water going down a drain. The body is nice and tall. Take a moment to reset the mountain if you need. Inhaling nice and tall. Once more, gentle tuck of the chin. We're making the same route, but in an opposite direction. Starting at the ankles, radiating outwards towards the perimeter of the feet. You might find your body, like in the arms, the legs, just, reacting to that counter balance as it's moving. And then we'll tighten in those circles once more, meeting at center. Dropping in, encourage you to bend your knees gently. You can bounce if you need. Lift the toes, roll up to the toes and lift the heels. Reset the mountain at the feet, looking down. Hopefully you're still seeing your feet for the most part, the upper part of it. But as you have that gentle bend to the knees, you might find more and more of the feet appearing under you, and internally rotating those thighs as you lengthen through the legs so that you can feel most of the soles of the feet making contact to the mat. You can always roll from heel to toe, side to side to get your bearings, and finally maybe recenter with a little more focus. Now we're going to move up to just shifting our weight from side to side. Start doing that as you're moving along with that momentum. You're going to start to pivot out the toes and start shifting the shoulders just slightly. And it's an organic kind of movement of slowly opening up at the ankles. You want to pivot and lift the toes as more of your torso goes to one side. We don't want to torque the knee. You don't have to grind into your heel either, but just give yourself some, swaying motions. And you might have a situation where there's a slight delay in the shoulders moving to one side, then the hips. So you might get a gentle ringing action. And just that gentle swaying, swerving action might find the hands really heavy at the ends of your arms so that they might just start moving on their own. You're not really actively moving the arms, but just that swiveling action is getting the momentum to move it. And then give yourself a little bit of time to peter that energy out. Come on back. And then bring in the feet, heel to toe alignment, back underneath the hips once more. Lifting up the feet, internal rotation with a little more clarity. Gently bend the knees if you need, and then lengthen through the legs. As we come on up, feel that chest lifting, the shoulders coming back, and we're going to move towards opening up through the upper body now. So here at this point, feel that nice rootedness column of support from the hips down to the heels. Don't hyperextend the backs of the knees. Gentle bend to them if you still need them, but you want to feel as if you're stacking the hips over the knees, over the ankles. You can gently tuck under the tailbone, pressing into the legs to lengthen a little bit more, and your chest will hopefully lift up. So, palms facing forward. Let's go ahead and slowly start to inhale. We'll start the shoulder rolls, which begins with an uplifting on the inhale of the shoulders. Then exhale, just roll them back and let them melt down. Tuck under the points of those shoulder blades into the mid-back if you can. We'll do a total of 4 breath cycles worth of shoulder lifts up and rolls on the exhale. And use that yoga breath. Facilitate the movements if you can. With each inhale, feel length. You might feel your rib cage expand sideways. On the exhale, Roll them back and let them melt down. See if the tops of your shoulders can release a little more. Heavy hands. And with the next set, we're going to inhale the shoulders up once more, but this time, the next 4 breath cycles, we roll them forward on the exhale. We're still tucking them into the mid-back, though. At the end of that exhale, engage the core. Feel as if you're just letting those shoulder blades slide down your back. You have one more to go. If you have an extra, that's okay. And then we'll reset in the mountain once more. Notice if you're gripping the mat. See if something changed in that transition, and we'll come back to our mountain, maybe a little longer, a little taller this time. Gentle tuck of the chin. Feel that string really lifting you up at the crown of the head. And as that uplifting feeling still is energizing the body upwards, on the inhale, and then exhale, slowly let the right ear dip towards the right shoulder. Both shoulders still in one line. Exhale, turn the gaze, and then let the gaze and the face turn until it stops. Eventually, with say about 4 breath cycles here, you might find there's a release on the left side of your neck. Maybe you have more of a face turn so that your eyes can rest somewhere above, to the front, or maybe even to the back of that right shoulder. Try to keep the balance of the body, one stable column from the shoulders down to the heels, making sure that alignment, you're not tipping over with the shoulders. Both shoulders should be in one horizontal line. The tipping going on gently at the neck. After that last exhale, let's go ahead and bring the eyes with the inhale, the gaze, the crown of the head lifting at the top. So all you have to do is exhale. Let the left ear dip towards the left side. And always, there's a space between the ear and the shoulder. Inhale, lift at the chest if you haven't already, lengthening in with that inhale. So all you have to do is exhale, turn the gaze. Making sure that right shoulder is still in line with the left. If it lifted up with the turn to the left side, just gently exhale. Let that right shoulder relax back in line with the left. And again, you don't force anything here, but maybe by just relaxing, by that last exhale, your eyes might just see something soft behind your left shoulder. And then we can inhale the eyes, the gaze, the top of the head completely back up at the top of the inhale. So all you have to do is exhale. Let the eyes float downward. Still a nice column of support from the shoulders down. And you'll get this nice gentle stretch to the back of the neck while you still have a good size space between the chin and the chest. Inhaling, you might find that slight tilt at the diagonal, crown of the head towards the ceiling. And notice if your base changed at all. Sometimes in the transition, we might roll our ankles outwards. Make sure you have good, steady support and balance. Everything from the shoulders down. And after that very last 4th breath cycle, exhale. Let's go ahead and inhale the eyes back towards the center, a slow rolling up past the midline. Start rolling upwards the eyes until you can see somewhat above you, and then stop craning the neck. Here, take the next 4 breaths. See if you can open through the front of the throat, the jaw, the tongue, the brow line. See if you have a gentle, just relaxing of your scalp. Sometimes you can take that deep inhale and just lift up through the chest. Exhale, still feeling the shoulders relaxing down the back. Maybe the mouth might just release with a little more intention. And after that last exhale, we can go ahead and bring the eyes back to the midline. And just shake out any residual activation of the lower body. You can lift up one leg, bending a knee, and then lengthening it back down. Just see if anything changed. If it did, notice that and give yourself a gentle resetting, any counter movement that feels good to release from that last pose. And we'll start our folds before we go into our walking meditation. Let's go ahead and start reaching downward. We're in our mountain, maybe a little longer, a little taller. Reaching downward, we can inhale those reaching arms upwards, extending through the arms, maybe even lifting up through the chest at the top of the inhale. And then engage the core, step into the legs, bend the knees. And imagine that you're just hinging at the hips, sticking the tailbone back, coming down with a long, strong body back. And then somewhere halfway down, you can always start to relax the arms and just let the pelvic kind of tilt forward, hinging at the hips so that it brings along the chest. Maybe some of us are really tight that we have a half lift almost position here, but we're just trying to let the back release. Finding that stability. Notice if you need to inwardly apply a little more pressure to even out the soles of the feet. Notice if you're rolling outward, then just accommodate that so that you have a good even distribution of weight between the soles of the feet, feeling that center of gravity really more at the top of the ankles, nearer to the heels, right below the hips. And if you need that deep bend, you're going to change that center of gravity slightly, but you're still hopefully going to feel that from the hips down to the heels, even with a deep bend, even with an upper back, but just see where you are. In our first fold, it's a ragdoll fold. We take about 5 breath cycles here. And all you're trying to do is just find release in the upper body as you're stabilized in the lower limbs. And then maybe by that last couple of breath cycles, you can find if you're holding onto the head. Just simply see if your arms can relax and the neck can relax. And with more and more of the upper body releasing, maybe the crown of the head is facing more of the floor. Maybe the chest is getting a little closer to the thighs. Now, wherever your arms are to support you, they might be forearms to the thighs, they might be hands at the shins, maybe on blocks, maybe fingertips to the mat, maybe entire palms to the floor. But wherever you are, you're just fully relaxed by that last breath cycle, the 5th one. And then we're going to slowly roll up. If we're really low, we're going to start to bring that center of gravity into our legs. Make sure you've got the hips down to the heels engaged and start to slowly press into the legs, engage the core as you're inhaling, rolling up 1 vertebra at a time. And as you do that, feel those stabilizing inner muscles just helping you to lengthen through the legs. And you can always walk the hands somewhere halfway up. As you restack 1 vertebra at a time, the tailbone tucking under the legs, pressing down, lengthening up through the body. And as you roll those shoulders back and down, last thing to stack on the vertebra is your head. Fully engaged here. Feel exhaled and rooted as you come back up to center. And just giving ourselves a moment to let the blood rush back to the head. We're going to do that one more time, another fold. Reaching downward, engaging through our mountain. We're going to inhale the arms upwards while we're still reaching. And at the top, maybe even lifting up at the torso. Engage the core. Step into the feet, firm up the legs. The belly is nice and firm. And we're starting to hinge at the hips. Bending the knees if you need. Sticking the tailbone back, and as we come halfway down, or just let yourself float down, we're just releasing through the upper body. And in our second fold, it's about 3 breath cycles here. So not as long as the first one, but like in the first one, you can make any movements that kind of either explore your stability or help you to engage that release in the upper body. You can bend 1 knee, lengthen that leg, bend the other knee, lengthen it. See if you can stabilize a little more if you need with longer, stronger base of your fold. You can see if you're hanging on to your head with your neck, gently bobble the head from left to right, forward and back, maybe in circles. See if your arms just kind of dangle there with like wet noodles. And with this end of this fold, we're going to come out of this fold with either that same slow roll up on the inhale with engaged core, or we can come up on the slow slow breath inhale, strong back, but engaged core nonetheless. So pressing into the feet, inhale, come up, your choice. And as we reach up towards the ceiling this time, reaching all the way up, see if your hands can come down heart center, palms together. And here, we'll begin our walking meditation. Inhale, pressing into the palms, engaging your core. See if you need a gentle bend to that left leg, but you want to stabilize on that left side of the body. Standing weight to the left side of the body before you lift the right foot, and then bring the heel or the midfoot, ball of foot, and toes down. As you start to inhale, you're going to lift the other foot, and make sure you have that standing weight before you inhale that left foot up, and step that down with the exhale, slowly. And engage your core. If you find you're starting to wobble, that's okay. If you fall out, just come back in. But you can always press into the palms, engage the core if it was soft, and sometimes that will help you regain your balance. But as you can, imagine one inhale, one exhale per step. And we'll make our way to the top of the mat in our mountain, in our longer, stronger mountain, looking down at our prayer hands. Inhale, press into the palms and watch them rise. At the top, we're going to separate the palms, lengthening all the way up, engage the core, stick the tailbone back, and hinge once more at the hips for another fold, all the way down. Maybe your hands will touch your shins, the feet, the blocks, but fully exhaled here, lengthening through the legs as best that we can. And then we're going to inhale. Just lift up through the back, lengthening and engaging the core to kind of come to a half lift position. You might be just lengthening through the back and coming to a 45-degree angle, or maybe even just lengthening where you can. But in our half lift, we're just trying to find that length in the back while our bottom all the way down to the heels are stabilizing and supporting the body. And then we can exhale. Just let the torso return towards the fold. You might just bend your elbows and have that occur, or just release. Place your hands at either side of the feet. Maybe they're on the blocks, maybe they're on the mat. And then you can step one foot back, stepping into that front foot. And then you can walk the other leg back, or walk hands down from the blocks, stepping all the way back to your high plank. We're going to inhale, lengthening through the legs into our high plank, and then we're going to allow our toes to untuck, bring down the shins, and then settle into a half plank. I'm going to move my blocks here. But in our in our high plank with a modified shin position down, we're finding the bottoms of our, the tops of our feet are supported by the mat. The bottom portion of our body is really being supported by the shins, the tops of the ankles. If you are uncomfortable with that and starting to cramp in the arches, you can always flex your feet, but try to open up through the ankles and keep the majority of that weight in the lower body supported there. Upper body should be somewhat of the shoulders above the wrists. If that 90-degree angle is too much, you can always lift up and just slide a little further back. You want to make sure your elbows maybe are pointing towards the back, and engage that core. Make sure it's sticking to the spine. The belly button sticking to the spine. And then with another inhale, we're going to just tuck the toes and lift up the hips, and exhale. Press into those long, strong arms to bring the hips back to this somewhat upside down U or V shape. Your heels can be highly lifted. Your knees can be very bent. We're lifting at the tailbone at some point, trying to get an upside down V. We're lengthening through our arms. Our ears are somewhat in between our upper arms. And if our legs are really tight, we've got that deep bend to the knees. Now you can inhale. Imagine the hips lifting up on the inhale, and exhale. See if you can lower the heels. Feel the lengthening from the tailbone down to the hands, tailbone down to the heels. Then with the next inhale, roll the eyes towards the hands. We're going to keep a deep bend to the knees, and we're going to exhale. Walk the hands to the back of the mat. And just roll back to that fold. Inhaling, half lift, lengthen through the legs best that you can, lengthen through the back, engage your core, and then exhale back towards the floor, towards your fold, and keep the bend to the knees if you're really tight back there. And we're going to inhale, slow roll up or strong back, but either way, engaged core on the inhale, come on back. Inhaling all the way back up, reaching at the top with our prayer hands, and just bringing them down, heart center. Taking a moment here, and we'll start a second walking meditation. Inhale, standing weight to the left leg, left body. Lift up the right foot, exhale that foot down. Inhale. Once you've got that weight into the right side, lift the left leg, left foot. And you don't have to have a high lift. You can just lift the sole of the foot if you need. More challenging, the higher your knee goes up. And just keep that slow meditative walk towards the top of the mat, feeling each step, hopefully coordinating with the breath. That articulation at the foot, moving the center of gravity until we're at the top of the mat. Looking down at the fingertips, pressing into the palms. Inhale, reach up towards the ceiling, separate the palms. Exhale, hinge at the hips, stick the butt back, and fold. Walk the hands down, float on down. It's our fold here, a nice long fold, lengthening through the legs. Exhale, press into your hands. Inhale, long spine. Exhale, fold. Bring your hands to wherever you need to, other side of your feet. Step a 1 foot back, step another foot back, and come on back to a long high plank this time. Inhaling, shoulders over the wrists, nice and long. Engaged from the heels through the glutes to the crown of the head. And then think about pressing down through long arms from the shoulders down to the wrists, from the heels down to the balls of the feet. With the next inhale, core engaged. Let's go ahead and lift up the hips and just press through those arms. Come on back into your down dog. You're pressing into the arms. You're maybe rolling a little higher onto the balls of the feet and lowering as it's available to you. See if you need to shorten the distance between the hands and the feet. See if you need to adjust the width of the feet. They should be somewhat hips distance apart. And the hands. Hands should be definitely shoulder width apart, thumbs on the inside, index finger, middle fingers oriented towards the top of the mat. Bend to the knees if you need. They don't need to be long. But with the next inhale, engage the core. Carve out that apex at the top. And then exhale. Walk the hands to the back of the mat. Remember, the knees can be bent. Fully exhaled here. Inhale. Press into wherever your hands are to lengthen through the back. And you should feel that hips to heel support as you're feeling a tailbone to the head. Vertical, horizontal extension. And then exhale back to the fold, still engaged in your core. And then inhale, roll back up, or inhale, either way with an engaged core, all the way back up to center. Hands coming all the way up. Exhaling, hands down, heart center. Gentle tuck of the tailbone and lengthening of the legs at the bottom of that exhale as you return to your mountain, hopefully. Feeling a little longer, a little taller. And it's a great time for a little bit of water. And we'll be moving into our next standing balance pose while we're opening up through the shoulders. So bringing, hopefully, a prop like a strap, or I don't know, you could just maybe use your your gravity. But either way, bring the strap if that helps you. Getting a little bit of water. I can feel my voice cracking just slightly here. And we're going to be just, we have that usual, swinging of the arms to kind of loosen up, lubricate a little bit through the shoulders, kind of release through what we just went through with those upside down poses, with the planks and the dogs. So, give yourself a little time to open up. And if you're tight in the shoulders, make these movements very small and soft. And we're going to go through a series of just moving through them. Now, I don't think we need the strap quite yet, but having it nearby. So we'll step into our 1 square foot mountain. And it should feel definitely more, it should feel clearer to you now that you're in this part of the stage. And we've had a bit of a warm up. See if you can step into those legs, lengthening, internally rotating here. So you feel like, imagine your sole of your foot. This is your big toe. This is your pinky toe. And you've got 2 points at the ball of the foot here. One near the pinky, one near the big toe's ball of the foot. Sort of like in an arch situation. Then you have your heel here. It's like a 3 tripod area. You can also think of it, the heel having an east and a west, hemisphere. But we really want all this down on the floor. You can go sideways. You can lift front to back to kind of get that center right here. And then when we're internally rotating those legs, we should get that nice lengthening so that we can feel almost as if the tailbone is tucking under while the glutes are kind of lifting away from that center. And we're lifting up through each inhale so we don't have a collapsing of the torso into our pelvic bowl. We want to engage those abs, engage them. You can do that by just simply rooting down with the legs, lifting up with your chest. And then as we're there, we'll go ahead and start with our arms. Let's go ahead and just start to bring some momentum. One in the front, one in the back. One hand goes in the front, one hand goes in the back. So as you cross them like that, you just might get an idea. Then see if you can go a little higher. See if you can bring a bend to the elbows. And then see if you can touch opposite shoulders. Once you can do that and you don't find a strain, let's see if we can just hang on there. And as you hang on there, I want you to gently bring the gaze downward. Feel just a gentle tucking of the chin so you feel at the base of your neck. I'm going to turn around so you have hopefully a better idea here. As you hold on to that inhaling and then exhale, just a slight lowering. You'll feel a nice little stretch back there. And then we can release the arms. Go ahead and swing again. One hand in front, one hand in back. And then we're going to try to remember which shoulder we had a hold of before. And we'll go ahead and reach for that again. If it feels like it's the same one, go ahead and just do an opposite one. Don't think too hard about it. Sometimes the body will just naturally know which one. But this also is another good opportunity for that gentle lowering of the gaze, gentle tuck of the chin. Breathe in deeply, feel as if the crown of the head is lifting with the inhale, so you feel this space created in between the shoulder blades, especially at the traps, at the base of the neck. Let's go ahead and inhale and then exhale, release the arms. Let them swing front to back this time, front to back. Alrighty. And then we're going to see if we can take a hold of your opposite shoulder. You can use whichever hand feels good to you. Sometimes your body chooses for you which one you're going to do. If it feels tighter, sometimes it might not be the first one you go to, but that might be the one you need to work on most. But holding on to that shoulder this time, we're going to inhale. Feel that expansion at the rib cage. Exhale, feel a little more rooted. And as you're still holding on to this shoulder, we're going to just turn our gaze across towards the opposite shoulder. Inhale back, release the hand. Let that swing, let that peter out and come back to this side. Take the other hand that wasn't used, grab a hold of your other shoulder. Give yourself a breath in. Turn the gaze to the opposite shoulder as you exhale. Inhale one more time, exhale. See if the weight at the soles of the feet changed. Redistribute that if you need. And then exhale, bring the gaze back, bring the arm back. Let it kind of peter out, front to back. Shake that out. And then see if you're able to bring the same arm to the same shoulder. Can you touch that? Is that possible for you? Then see where your elbow is. I'm going to use the other one since the camera angle here. But see where that is. See where your elbow can go. If you can touch the same shoulder, see where your elbow lands. Is it right above you? Is it out here? Where is it? We want to try to kind of keep it here and relaxed. And then with an exhale, just let that elbow kind of sink downward while you're still kind of holding on by the fingertips. Relaxed hand, and just let that shoulder relax. Inhale deeply. Exhale, turn the gaze to the other side, to the other shoulder. Inhale back. Exhale to the same shoulder that you're holding on to. Inhale once more, lifting up through the chest if you need. Exhale, let the eyes wander towards the leftmost of your vision. See if your shoulders went out of line. Bring them back into line. And then inhale, bring the eyes, the gaze all the way back to center and release through the left arm, left shoulder. Go ahead and kind of swivel through the wrist. It should give you a little rotation at the top of the shoulder. And then you can gently rotate like you're just doing a backstroke with that shoulder back, and do it in the forward. And then take your hand with the fingers just gently pressing in the C curve so that you can move the shoulders back and forth. You're raking your fingers gently as you're moving the shoulders across the deltoids, the top of that ball over there, that nice kind of cap of muscle. Let's go ahead and release through the shoulders once more. And then we're going to get a hold of that opposite shoulder. We're going to go through it a little more, just like we did with this one. Go ahead and inhale up. Exhale, turn to the opposite shoulder. Exhale here. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale back to center. Exhale to the other shoulder, the one you're holding. Give yourself a couple of breaths here. See if that last exhale can bring the eyes behind your right shoulder somewhere. See if you can find release at the base of the neck, at the base of the skull. And then inhale the eyes all the way back to center. And take that gentle C curve of your fingers so you can gently rake the fingertips against the deltoid. You can use your shoulders and keep your hands still. You can keep your shoulders still and move your fingers. But see how that feels, just releasing hopefully some of the deltoid muscles there. And then we can release. We'll go ahead and shake out the hands once more. And then this time, let's take our strap because we're going to go up with our arms and the elbow going up. And then notice too, you have to reset your base. You didn't have to redo that, just move in to get your strap. Anyhow, let's go ahead and put the strap over our shoulders. We're going to inhale, right arm up, and then just bend that right elbow and let it just come on down. Maybe it lands on your head, maybe it's on the back of your neck, maybe you have fingertips in between your shoulder blades. Let me turn around. But wherever you are, the right hand is there. We're going to go ahead and bring that strap so the left hand can maybe reach it somewhere behind us. And just let it hang there. If you have good open shoulders, you can start doing your thing to feel both the elbows getting closer to the body, top towards the head, bottom towards the hip. And as you can get the hands closer together or not, maybe you're just working on just keeping this up here, holding on to the strap maybe to keep that elbow upwards. But as you find your spot here in your shoulder stretch, giving yourself about 3 to 5 breath cycles, we're going to give ourselves an additional 5 breaths, just slow breaths in, a pause, a slow breath out, a pause, a slow breath cycles, about 5 of them, just breathing. And I encourage you, as you're breathing, I'm going to turn to the side once more. Imagine your shoulders down is that column of support, but as you breathe in, you're lifting up through the sternum. You're pressing down through your legs just a little bit if you notice that you had a bend to the legs. If you're rolling out through the outer edge, just bring the inner arches in a little more. Press down at the base. So with each breath even, you can just use the breath as you exhale, engage the core, feel a little more rooted, and hopefully you'll find release in the shoulders. And clearly, by that 5th breath cycle at this point, your body is maxed out with as open as it's going to be, and just the simple movement of the breath, bringing the rib cage to expand, the collarbones perhaps to lift with the inhale, and with the exhale, just that rooting feeling all the way down those internally rotated thigh legs going down to your base. And then the last exhale, just release the strap. Release through that left, the lower hand first, and then you can start to bring the right hand up and lower the elbow, lower the shoulder. And then just give yourself a gentle tuck of the chin. It's more like you're just feeling the crown of the head at a diagonal. Feel that length at the back of the neck. Still feel the space at the front of the chin, throat. And then we'll roll our shoulders back and down, bringing the eyes back to our midline, bending the knees, bouncing, giving ourselves just a moment to prepare for the other side. If you have a tendency to grip the mat, lift up on your base so you can reset that. And I'm going to turn to the other side, so hopefully you'll see here. And then we'll come back to our 1 square foot mountain. We're spending a lot of time here, so let me speed this up just a little bit more. We're done after this one side with our standing. We'll go ahead and bring the left arm up this time. Right arm is down at the bottom, and just bend your left elbow. See where that lands. Just again, you're going to take about 3 to 5 breath cycles. I want to turn around, but I'm going to stay here. You understand that you're just trying to bring the elbows close to the body. And if your delt is really complaining, then you're just going to have to wait here. Maybe your hand can rest on some part of your head. Your hand can be at the back. Maybe it can just be a little higher up. Maybe you have a hold of that strap. But as we're here, finding that good spot on that left elbow bent close to the head and the right elbow close to the right hip, bending this right elbow, seeing where this right hand can be. We're just inching these hands closer to each other. But if you start to have a skewed elbows, you've gone too far. We need to back out and just focus on releasing where you can. And eventually you might be able to touch hands, clasp fingers, clasp hands. But you don't have to be there if you're not there. You just want a little release in the shoulders. And notice if you changed your base, sometimes that just happens. And once you've done the 3 to 5 breath cycles to find your sweet spot, I encourage you to take the slow ocean-like yogic breaths to guide you through the next 5. You're always welcome to come out if you start to cramp or if it just isn't working for you. Come back out, either meet us in standing or with a little less intensity. But breathe. When you're ready to come out, release with the bottom hand if you have a hold of that strap, and then slowly let the left elbow lower. Just let that left arm release at your side. And then you might do a little bit of movement again with the wrist, maybe both sides at this point. An alternate shoulder, whichever. Just let's get rid of any of that last poses, activated residual muscles, and then we're going to come into that swing one last time. I know I said it was the last one, but we want to do one last time. Trust me, you'll really like this part. And I'm going to do this from the back. So we're going to end with our scaling hold. So we're going to move again those arms with a little bit of momentum, and then bring opposite shoulders, both hands, and then release. Do the opposite shoulders, other hands. Try it one more time if it wasn't the right one. And then one more time. And then we're going to take one hand and just bring it up and let it land on the back of our neck. If your elbow is way out here, that's okay. Just have the back of your hand. Hopefully your palm is warm. And then just holding it there. Keep your hands in that nice kind of C-shaped, gentle hook area, and we're going to lower the elbow close towards the body and drag it against the base of the neck, and then let it go down the side of your neck, across that pec, and just flick it away. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. Give yourself some time to just slowly let the friction of your skin on the palm against the back of the neck. Let that lower elbow lower. Bring the fingers to gently press down across the neck, down the collarbone, across that pec, and just flick it out. Reset the mountain if you need to. We're going to do that again. Once your right arm going up, coming back, This time as we drag the fingertips across, lowering our elbows, we're going to go across the baseline of our skull with those fingers gently pressing inward. Go under the ear, under the jawline, under that groove with the middle fingertip if you can, and flick that. And let the shoulder release. Inhale deeply, bring the shoulders back, root down through your legs if you need. Inhale the opposite arm up, get that across. And then gently exhale. The palm, the fingertips across the base, across the other side of the neck, and then into the grooves of the skull on the left side, under the ear, under the jawline, and a slow flick outwards towards the other side. Roll your shoulders, flick out your arms, and we are going to make our way down to the floor so we can have some belly time. Anyhow, that was a nice, hopefully some release in the upper body. You can explore that at home at your leisure. I really highly recommend the tops of the shoulders, just having the weight of the arms, just releasing, especially if you have skin-on-skin contact. Now coming on down, you might need to use your blocks. You might have a chair nearby, but we're just going to slowly come down best to our ability of getting down. If you have your favorite way, please do so. You can use the blocks, you can use the chair, bringing the hands out, bending the knees, bringing that lower part down so you can bring the shin. Maybe you can get a nice stretch in your squat for a brief moment, but bring your shins down, bring your hips down. You make your way onto the belly. Be careful of your knees. We don't want to move the kneecaps. All right. And as we make our way onto the mat, if you have glasses, please, on our belly, if you have glasses, go ahead and take them off. If you're in the chair, all we're doing is sitting at the edge of the chair with your legs out in front of you, lengthen through the legs, just as you're seeing us lengthen through our legs on the mat here. You can hold on to the chair seat if you need to, but you're just lengthening through your legs, maybe leaning back if you need. But eventually we're bringing our elbows maybe to about the shoulder length if that's comfortable. Pillow the hands with the brow line if you're on your belly, so you can just breathe here for a moment. Roll from side to side on your hip bones, what feels like hip bones on your belly. I'm just going to lift my head slightly so I can not have a muffled voice, and hopefully folks in the back can hear then. But if you can have your hands pillowed on your hands, maybe a cheek turned to one side. If you do that, balance out the other side. But just giving ourselves just a little bit of time on our belly, supported by the mat, feels really good. And then we'll go ahead and bring the face, the mouth, the nose, the chin, just slightly onto the mat. Yeah, it's going to be a little smushed. It's okay. Bring the arms down. Palms are up. Hands, arms are down at the side. And where you've got our feet, our legs right underneath our hips. And as you're inhaling, I want you to think about lengthening through the legs so that you're pointing your toes, the tops of your feet are, on the mat, and your quads are engaged, your glutes are engaged, your internal rotation of those thighs. You're just straightening out these legs. And when you do so, your kneecaps should lift. But you're not hyperextending the knees, hopefully. You're just finding that length of the leg supported by the mat all the way from the hip bones, or I should say the crusts of your pelvic, all the way down to the toes. Just one nice long line. And the muscles are not aggressively activating these muscles, but just activating it so that you can bring length to the body from the hips down to the toes. And then release. Let those limbs melt into the mat. You should feel everything just kind of like spill to the side. Release. All right. This time we're going to give ourselves, our arms are going to be out to our hip side, long arms, palms down. We're going to be extending through the arms this time so that we have our shoulders even engaging and our chest is engaging. We're just engaging everything from the chest, shoulders, and pointed arms, fingers together, palms down onto the chest so that we can lengthen through the legs with a little more stability. See if you can pinch your glutes so that you can lift one entire leg as a unit. You may not be able to lift it up at all, but just do that. Not the toes, the entire left hip down to that left leg. See if you can lift it as one unit, even a fraction of an inch off the mat, and then let that relax. Let everything relax back to the mat. Inhale, engage the arms, the shoulders, the chest, the head. You're looking straight at the mat. The legs are nice and long. The tops of the feet are on the mat, and you're engaging the muscles once more from the hips all the way down to the toes. And this time, see if you can lengthen and lift as one leg unit the right leg. You might just have an intention of engaging the muscles. Maybe it doesn't lift off of the mat at all. Maybe you're able to hover it up above. But whatever you're doing, you're holding on to that length, and it's engaged from the glute all the way down to the toes. And then release that leg slowly back as one unit to the mat, and then release. Turn the gaze gently to one side. And breathe. See if you can roll the shoulders towards the mat so that the palms are up facing. And if your left shoulder is lifted, exhale it down. Then inhale, engage the chest, lift up the gaze slightly so you can turn it back to center. And we're going to make our way into Sphinx. So bringing the legs together, we're going to zip them up. See if you can engage contact between toes, inner arches, heels, maybe the knees, maybe the inner thighs. Engage the glutes so you have one long cobra tail. And then we're going to bring our hands right about under the shoulders, elbows close to the rib cage, and we're going to walk the fingers upwards so we can start to slowly bring the elbows underneath the shoulders. You can release slightly through your cobra tail, but you do want it to be slightly engaged so it's together and not loose as it was before, separated legs under the hips. We want one cobra tail, zipped up legs if you can. And here in our Sphinx, we're going to inhale, press into the forearms, the palms, the fingertips, press from the elbows down to the fingertips as one unit, press downward gently, and then sort of pull forward so you feel as if your torso is being slightly pulled forward. Shoulders are away from each other. They're moving in that direction, away from each other, rolling them back and down. And your gaze is somewhat soft between the thumbs. And you have a slight engagement of your legs, glutes, to the feet, tops of the ankles, so you can keep it as one cobra tail. You're not aggressively staking out all those muscles to do so. You're just activating the muscles needed. And then exhale. Slowly bring the chest towards the mat, pivot out the elbows, bring the hands back in, and release. You can tuck your toes if you feel like you're cramping in the arches, especially. Wiggle your toes. Splay them out, bend them, flex them, do whatever, but wiggle them, make some movement, and then bring some rolling action to your ankles. I'm just going to lift my mouth because I don't know if you can hear me all the way back there. Anyhow, just give yourself some small circular movements with one ankle, maybe in the opposite direction with the other one, and then reverse that. See if you can coordinate that reversal. See if you could bring them in towards the toes, roll them in towards the toes, roll them away from the toes, still circles. And then just let the tops of the feet gently float back to the mat. We're going to meet now on our backs in Shavasana. So however you'd like to get onto your back, you're welcome. I typically like to just roll on over, but I do end up having to roll back onto the mat. So sometimes if it's doable, a reverse push-up into a all fours position, whatever works for you. Sometimes that's a nice little counter stretch, and then just getting onto your back by bringing the hips back. But I'm going to bring in my blocks, and as you're getting into Shavasana, this is the final pose for the practice as far as just releasing and kind of responding to what you've done today. And so as you do so, you just need to be comfortable. If you're cold, get a blanket on you. If you know you have a benefit from having a folded blanket under your lumbar, under your knees, a bolster, whatever it takes. If you like your legs spread out with the feet pointed towards the corners. If you like them zipped up like we had them in Cobra Toe with just the toes kind of falling away from each other. Wherever you are, just want to relax. Arms at the side, palms up. Maybe a blanket on you. I'm going to be sitting up to mind the time as you lay down and enjoy your Shavasana. If any thoughts should come to your head, go ahead and note them and let them float away with the next breath. When you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken. bringing the mind back to the body, taking note of sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to your breath. Notice the air as it enters the nose and how it warms the nose as it exits the body. You can wiggle your fingers, toes, you can rock the body. Do what movement feels good to bring you back into your physical vessel. And we'll meet in an upright seated position for our breath exercise. It's just our alternate nostril breathing. So sitting up comfortably, crisscross applesauce, in a hero, in child's pose, upright, whichever feels good to you. You can sit also on several blocks if you're in the way, on the way to meeting the floor with more open hips, sitting high up with double blocks, maybe even triple blocks if you have to, but make sure you don't topple over. You want to make sure your hips are higher than your knees, and hopefully you can sit up in that way. So in our nostril, alternate nostril breathing exercise, we're just going to bring this hand into this shape. Bring the index and the thumb together, our chin mudra, that's that hand position that just rests on the left thigh. Our Vishnu mudra hand position is just the first two fingers resting on the mount of the thumb. We're closing our right nostril with the right ring finger, left nostril with the left ring finger tip. If this is too much for you and makes you cramp up, you can always use your finger and the right thumb to close the right nostril and the knuckle to close the left nostril. So whichever works for you. If you have glasses, you can take them off. Taking a moment here, let's sit up nice and tall, inhaling deeply. Close the right nostril. Exhale through the left. And as you finish that slow, deep exhale, draw the belly button in, expel all the air, and engage the perineum. Lift that floor. Inhale deeply. Feel the collarbones lift, the rib cage expand. Hold it. Close. Exhale through the right. Fully exhaled here. Inhale. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Last round. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Then release that right hand, release the mudras, and hopefully you just feel a little more relaxed. Let the breath return to its natural state. I'm bringing hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining us here at the ACC's community room for gentle yoga. Hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.